The darkness of a February morning clung to Frostburg, Maryland, like a shroud. The bitter cold had driven most residents indoors, their homes glowing faintly against the blackness. But at 3:47 a.m., the stillness was shattered. The thunderous roar of helicopters tore through the winter sky, their searchlights slicing through the gloom. Red and blue lights pulsed like a heartbeat, illuminating the frost-covered streets as armored vehicles rolled in, their tires crunching against the frozen ground. Federal agents moved with lethal precision, surrounding an isolated cabin at the edge of town. Inside, three of America's most wanted fugitives, Jack Ziz Lasota, Michelle Jacqueline Zachko, and Daniel Arthur Blank, waited, their fates sealed by the weight of their crimes. The operation was the culmination of a nationwide manhunt that had gripped the country for years. On Sunday, February 16, 2025, in Allegheny County, Maryland, Lasota, Zachko, and Blank were arrested without significant resistance. There was no dramatic standoff, no final act of defiance. Instead, they emerged from the cabin like shadows, hands raised in silent defeat. Authorities charged the trio with multiple offenses, including trespassing, obstruction, and firearm-related violations. They were held without bail following a court hearing. During the proceedings, Lasota expressed concerns about the lack of vegan food options in detention, her voice trembling with a mix of defiance and desperation. It was a stark reminder of the ideological fervor that had driven her and her followers to the edge of destruction. The story of the Zizians began not with violence, but with ideas. In 2016, Jack Amadeus Ziz Lasota, a transgender woman and computer programmer, began writing a blog under the pseudonym Ziz. Her writings explored complex theories about technology, gender identity, and human cognition, attracting a small but dedicated following within the rationalist community of the San Francisco Bay Area. Lasota's ideas were provocative and unconventional, blending radical veganism, anarchist beliefs, and unique theories about consciousness. One of her most controversial concepts was hemispheric duality, which posited that the brain's hemispheres could hold separate values, genders, and even personalities. This theory, while scientifically unverified, became a cornerstone of the Zizians' ideology. Lasota often spoke of it in hushed, almost reverent tones, as if it were a revelation. "The mind is not one," she wrote in a now infamous post. "It is two, locked in an eternal struggle. To truly be free, we must embrace the chaos within." Her words resonated deeply with her followers, many of whom were young, highly educated, and disillusioned with mainstream society. By 2022, the group had grown into a decentralized network of individuals, many with backgrounds in technology and computer science. Their ranks included transgender and non-binary members, reflecting the group's unconventional beliefs and Lasota's charismatic leadership. But beneath the surface of intellectual discourse, a darker undercurrent was forming. The Zizians were no longer content to simply debate ideas. They were ready to act on them. The first known violent act attributed to the Zizians occurred on November 15, 2022, when landlord Curtis Lind was brutally attacked in Vallejo, California. Lind, who had rented property to members of the group, was assaulted with a sword after a rental dispute. The attack was swift and merciless. Lind later described the moment in a police interview. "I opened the door, and there she was, Emma Borhanian. She didn't say a word, just swung the sword." Despite sustaining severe injuries, Lind managed to fatally shoot Borhanian in self-defense. The incident marked a significant escalation in the Zizians' activities, signaling their transition from philosophical debate to violent action. On December 31st, 2022, Richard and Rita Zachko were found dead in their Chester Heights, Pennsylvania home, each with a single gunshot wound to the head. The murders sent shockwaves through the quiet community. Richard and Rita were beloved teachers at the local high school, known for their charity work and gentle demeanor. But it was the clinical precision of their execution that haunted investigators. No signs of struggle, no forced entry. This wasn't a random act of violence. This was personal. Days before the murders, their daughter Michelle had appeared at their doorstep, ending years of estrangement. Security cameras from neighboring houses captured her arrival, a warm embrace on the front porch, tears of reconciliation. But beneath the surface, something darker simmered. investigators later traced encrypted messages from Michelle's phone to Jack Lasota, suggesting the reunion was anything but innocent. Michelle Zico is considered a person of interest in the case, though she has not been formally charged. The truth remains elusive, but fragments of evidence suggest the killings were part of a larger, more sinister plan. The winter winds screamed across the Vermont-Canada border on January 20th, 2025, as U.S. Border Patrol agent David Malland conducted a routine traffic stop in Coventry, Vermont. The snow fell in thick, blinding sheets, muffling the sound of his footsteps as he approached the vehicle. What began as a routine encounter escalated into chaos. Gunfire erupted, the sharp cracks echoing through the frozen landscape. When the smoke cleared, Malin lay dead, his blood staining the snow. Investigations linked the attack to individuals connected to the Zizians, with Teresa Youngblood charged in connection with the murder. The incident intensified the national manhunt for the group's members, bringing the full weight of American law enforcement down on the Zizians. The Zizians were not without internal conflict. Former member Gwen Danielson, initially believed to have died by suicide in 2022, was later found to have been in hiding, fearing retaliation from the group. Her defection highlighted the cult-like control and intimidation tactics employed within the Zizians. In a rare interview, Danielson described the night she fled. "I packed a bag, left my phone behind, and disappeared into the night. I knew if I stayed, I'd either end up dead or complicit in something I couldn't live with." Her words offered a glimpse into the personal toll of the group's extremist ideology. The arrest of Lasota, Zajko, and Blank marked the end of the Zizians' reign of terror. Today, they sit in separate maximum security facilities, their days of philosophical discussions and militant activism reduced to hours in concrete cells, but the ripples of their actions continue to spread through American society, forcing us to confront uncomfortable questions about the nature of extremism in the modern age. The Zizian case changed how law enforcement approaches domestic terrorism. It showed how quickly intellectual movements can transform into violent extremism, how the internet can accelerate radicalization, and how traditional surveillance methods often fail to detect threats hiding in plain sight. Authorities believe the group used encrypted messaging and anonymous networks to coordinate their activities, though the full extent of their operational sophistication remains unclear. Perhaps most disturbing is the legacy they left behind. Their ideas, pieced together from recovered documents and online posts, continue to circulate in dark corners of the internet. New groups have emerged, claiming to carry on their mission. Each month, authorities intercept messages from would-be followers, drawn to the same dangerous ideology that turned a once obscure philosophy group into a suspected terrorist cell. The victims' families still seek answers. Richard and Rita Zajko's other children struggle to understand how their sister became a person of interest in their parents' deaths. Agent Milan's widow advocates for stronger domestic terrorism laws, and former Zizian members, those who left before the violence began, now work with de-radicalization programs, trying to prevent others from following the same destructive path. The story of the Zizians underscores how radicalization, ideology, and violence remain urgent threats in today's world. In their pursuit of a perfect world, they created only destruction. And while Lasota, Zajko, and Blank's capture marked the end of their suspected reign of terror, their story serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers that can emerge from even the most unlikely places. As the camera pans over the quiet town of Frostburg, now blanketed in snow once more, a single light flickers in a distant window. Inside, a young person scrolls through Zizian posts online, their face illuminated by the glow of their screen. The cycle continues.